What's up everybody, and welcome to Sonic Frontiers Ending Explained. In this video, I'm not just going to be talking about the ending. There's a lot to talk about in Sonic Frontiers, be it lore-wise, be it just the ending itself, its characters, but in this video, we're going to be talking about the future of the franchise, where Sonic Frontiers could go from here, a Sonic Frontiers 2, a DLC, be it with separate characters, a prologue similar to something like Sonic Forces had with Episode Shadow. They could do possibly something like that with Knuckles, or they just want to expand on the current islands that they have, add more Titans. We're also going to be talking about the Ancients. Who were they? How are they connected to Earth, Mobius or Earth, the Emeralds? Why were they here? And are they related to Chaos, the god of destruction?
You know nothing, fool! It's Chaos, the god of destruction!
I'm sorry, I love that line. Also, since I just brought that up, we need to talk about Eggman. Eggman has written 24 journals that were hidden behind Big the Cat, and they reveal a lot about the game, what was going on right before Sonic got to the island, and right as he arrived at the island. And of course, we need to think about a lot of other things. A possible Sonic timeline, what games are canon, the Phantom Ruby, is that related to the end? And of course, we need to talk about the post-credits cutscene. But before we, do that, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let you guys know anytime I put out a new video, be it a Mario, Sonic, Endgame Theory stuff. I'm talking like Mario World Kaizo, Super Mario 64 ROM hacks, and a bunch of other awesome things. I appreciate all the support. Thank you. And this is a channel you can trust. I got my Sonic slippers on, and they may not be soaked, but they're good enough to handle the mission here. Thank you. Now, the main thing I want to talk about is really the Chaos Emeralds here. The Chaos Emeralds are this source of infinite power that are derived from the Master Emerald. However, are there multiple Master Emeralds? That is a actual valid question, because when we look at the second island, Ares Island, in the Starfall Islands, which is the overall area we're in for Sonic Frontiers, we see a shattered remains of a giant purple-looking emerald or crystal. And that got me thinking, are there 7 giant Master Emeralds? And if there are, they probably don't exist anymore. The reason why I think this too is because the alien creatures known as the Ancients were drawn to Mobius or Earth because of some sort of unknown power. They couldn't stop themselves. And now it seems that the Chaos Emeralds used to be scattered throughout the universe, not just the planet we're from or we're playing from. And this is kind of important because the Ancients are obviously an alien race. They weren't originally from the same planet as the Master Emerald. And with the Chaos Emeralds being spread everywhere and with this infinite amount of power, it makes sense that it was able to give life. It was able to kind of bring energy to bring life or its own life forms into existence. These life forms, they look just like Chaos, the god of destruction who resides within the Master Emerald. So it kind of works out why they were drawn in, why they couldn't prevent themselves from coming to this planet that the Master Emerald resides in. These are all kind of connections we can see together. Now, the Chaos Emeralds are always on the same planet. It gets spread out like Dragon Balls. But before, it looks like they used to exist throughout the entire universe. Or all 7 used to be within the Ancients' planet before it was destroyed, and they brought them back due to the Master Emerald's pull. And we all know now, especially from their data logs and everything from cyberspace, that they came here due to the Emerald's influence. And there's another thing. They are actually connected to Chaos, the god of destruction from Sonic Adventure 1. This is actually explicitly stated in Eggman Memo 11. Eggman states specifically this. He says, I had Sage run a diagnostic on the recorded genetic data of the Ancients, and then against archives I have with me. They're relatives of Chaos. After countless years, their DNA corroded to the point they were completely transformed into a new species. This species is possibly the Coco, as we see the Coco interacting with a lot of ancient technology, and they're able to harbor the souls of the former Ancients within. Aliens and extraterrestrial beings are not uncommon in Sonic. Of course, we had Sonic Colors, we had the Wisp, and we've had Black Arms, Shadow the Hedgehog, which is confirmed to be a canon game in the Eggman memos as well. If we look specifically at Eggman Memo 7, he literally says, "Black arms, please," because he's talking about predating any civilization that he knows. And, well, the ancients clearly do that. Oh, past the Echidnas, past the Babylonians, and the Black Arms, which Black Arms are, we know, they're aliens from Shadow the Hedgehog, which a lot of people don't want to believe is canon. However, Eggman lets us know it definitely is. Look, my original theory, or my theory right now, is that they're just alien creatures from a different part of the same galaxy that happen to derive and look like Chaos, and that's why they were attracted to the Emerald's power. Chaos has always been the guardian, or, you know, this higher being, a god, obviously, within the Master Emeralds, residing within it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the future of this franchise, where we could go from here, because if we look at just Starfall Islands in itself, there's so much more to be explained and explored. We have a vast amount of land that isn't used, but I'm looking at something like Sonic Forces. In Sonic Forces, we had Episode Shadow, which is a prologue to everything that happens in Sonic Forces, what happens with the Phantom Ruby, and Infinite. It works out, it tells a short story from there, but it's just as fun and it's able to include another character. Here, I think they could possibly do something with Knuckles. We do have the Knuckles prologue video, which shows how Knuckles got trapped in cyberspace. However, they can expand on that, or they could possibly show something going on Angel Island and how Angel Island and the Master Emerald are connected to Starfall Islands. The other thing I'm saying is there could be post-future DLC, be it with Sonic or with Tails, because Tails in this game has a major growth spurt. Tails wants to be his own person. He's finally ready to step out of the shadow, and yes, he's had his moments. They talk about it, especially when he stopped Eggman bombing all of Station Square, but he talks about how he fell back in Sonic Forces, how once Infinite, supposedly killed Sonic, he lost himself and he felt like he never grew. He's always been in Sonic's shadow. This, I think, is the future of Sonic Frontiers. I think we'll be getting a whole solo Tails adventure, be it DLC or in the beginning of a sequel where we get split stories similar to Sonic Adventure 1. Tails has always been a fantastic character, and now he's getting a lot of personal growth. In fact, in Eggman's log right here, he talks about how Tails has limitless potential. Tails has always been this character with limitless potential. He's as fast as Sonic, which Sonic admits. He can fly. Eggman admits he's just as smart as him, and he has even more room to grow because he's a young mind. And that, well, give him enough time to train, he could be the best character within the entire, series, the entire franchise. I mean, we already know he can establish a super form through Sonic 3 and Knuckles when we get the Hyper Emeralds. So there's this possibility that Tails can grow into this Gohan-esque character, and that's sick, and I'm all for it. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is a Sonic games timeline. Is Sonic Frontiers Sonic Adventure 3? Is this the game that we thought it was going to be? Yes and no. Now, while a lot of the characters that we all were growing up with and, came to learn have come and gone within a lot of Sonic games. I mean, everybody knows characters like Styx, Rogue, Cream and Cheese. Well, where are they in this game? In this game, we only had the characters that really appeared in Sonic Origins, besides Fishing with Big, who, for some reason, had all of Eggman's journals. Other than that, nobody else is mentioned, nobody's really talked about. Yes, they talk about Gun, they talk about Station Square, they even talk about, I know this is not a reference video and I'm saving it for that, but they even talk about Team Sonic Racing, or Sonic Team Racing. So the Donpa Kingdom is actually canon, so Sonic going to race on these other planets is legitimately canon. Now, we can take these with a grain of salt, because in the main game, the games they only talk about are Sonic 3 and Knuckles. They even directly reference it. They talk about Sonic Adventure 1, which gets its own flashback, and then they also talk about Sonic Heroes, and they talk about Sonic Forces. These are the four main games I remember they talked explicitly about. However, with Eggman's log memos, we get confirmation that Team Sonic Racing, Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Adventure 2, and all those other games that predated or their predecessors do exist. Now, I'm not here to rank every villain and every strength, but we need to talk about where these games stand and what happens with each character, or what's going to happen with each of these characters, because it could be changing the landscape of what we know as a Sonic game. Is Shadow still this, I'm dead kind of creature, or am I really a robot? Am I part of the Black Arms? This is something that's kind of been ignored and could be reintroduced due to extraterrestrial creatures. The other thing we need to talk about is the Infinite and the Phantom Ruby. Who is the end? And is Eggman not the big bad guy anymore? Is he not the evil villain we're always going to be facing off against? Yes and no. I think this is more of a Kirby-like situation where in Kirby, we know there's dark matter, and dark matter has many derivatives in different forms, and he's usually the big bad in Kirby, but that would relegate Eggman to turning into King Dedede, who's usually just, hey, I'm a bad guy, but I'm actually your friend. That doesn't really seem like Eggman's thing. Like, yeah, maybe in like a cartoon or an anime kind of way, but in the comics, Eggman has always been Sonic's villain, no matter who came by, even when other villains were there. We know that he generally wants to take over the world. He is this bad guy here. So I don't look as the end as something that we're going to be facing off a lot. I think of it more as it continues from the Phantom Ruby future. The end looks very similar to the Phantom Zone, the Phantom Ruby, but the Phantom Ruby has a lot of similarities to the end and kind of that glitching that Sage has. Is it possible that she is made from the leftover power of the Phantom Ruby, or is it possible that the end, this new bad guy that was going around chasing the Ancients, is it possible that they are the original Phantom Ruby? Are they from the Phantom Zone kind of thing? And that's a lot to think about because of how much they look like each other. It just has the same colors, the same glitching effect, that same internal kind of wave, and there's more to it. This Ruby really has a lot to store within it. Now, maybe they could split Kirby while he fight like the Kirby. When they split Sonic, he could be fighting Dr. Robotnik, who finds these new sources of power, and then they could always have these Phantom Ruby, Phantom Zone kind of villains like the End. The End does state this line that I am infinite, and a lot of people are taking that line literally.
I saw your mind as you ran through my prison. You have fought machines and gods. They were mighty. They were finite. I am infinite.
It doesn't make any sense. They are talking about how the enemies I've fought, the gods I've fought as Sonic, are finite creatures. The End will not ever be destroyed from this because they seem to be an entirely another reality, which would fit the idea of a Phantom Zone, this kind of reverse world or this reverse godly creature. Yes, we have defeated gods as Sonic. That is, again, something similar to Kirby, but the End seems to be like another reality. That's what this Phantom Zone could possibly be, and that's why they're infinite. No matter how many times you stop them, they will keep going. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the characters in themselves. I did mention how we have made every game basically canon. They mentioned every single Sonic game that is not the Wii Sonic games. You didn't hear anything about Sonic and the Black Knight and Sonic and the Secret Rings because those are storybook stories, and Sonic being in them, it's kind of like, oh, this is kind of fun. They are not legitimate Sonic games, that it seems. Yes, they are legit Sonic games. It just seems they are not main canon Sonic games, which is totally fine. However, Neo Metal is introduced in this game, or not introduced, reintroduced, because we look at Sonic Heroes and we look at it as Sonic Adventure 3. I like to look at Sonic Frontiers as Sonic Adventure 3 myself because, it was supposed to be like that. It has a lot of the same cast. I said Sonic Frontiers, Sonic Heroes. Sonic Frontiers can also be considered Sonic Adventure 3 if we look at it, or possibly even a 4. Everything about this game is a continuation from 1. Yes, 1 is mentioned the most, and we don't want to ignore 2, but once Neo Metal was explicitly stated as one of these big bads that they defeated, well, that goes to show that he is still around. He is still learning. We look at Neo Metal and we can think about it as something similar to a perfect cell situation. He is this creature that it has as much potential as Sonic. He could be learning, he can use we know he can use the Master Emeralds and all that, so they reintroduced him, and I think he's a future villain that we might have to be looking out for, especially with the end creature or another reintroduction to the Phantom Ruby. If they were somehow ready to meet each other, it would be disastrous, but also an amazing game at the same time. And I would love to play something like that. I know you guys hear me. Do it. Don't make it a comic series. Now, last but not least, let's talk about the post-credit scene. Post-credit scenes, I think, it's very bittersweet. Eggman states that Sage is his daughter. That's like the big reveal in this game. However, if you read the Eggman logs, we kind of already knew that. He talks about how he created life himself and how he got more and more attached to Sage, and that she is more than family. And he thinks about Maria. He's wondering, is Sage like Maria? Is this how she was? He just has this really deep connection for something that he gave life to. And it's really bittersweet, you know? Like, I mean, he is the bad guy, but it's nice to see human emotions behind this bad guy. However, when he must have gotten desperate. And when he brings back Sage and her program and all that, you see this kind of glitch going on. And it's very similar to the glitch we've been seeing all game from her, which is weird because why does she have this black and red glitch like from the ancient technology? We understand that she couldn't have full control from the Titans because the end was within them. So do you think after going through the literal form of the end that she possibly got corrupted from it? Or Eggman brought her back too fast and she couldn't completely erase all of the end from her? It seems that when she interacted with Sonic and she was happy, she returned to this white-green kind of color. However, in her normal neutral state, after interacting with a lot of this ancient technology which was containing the end within her, she possibly got corrupted. She might be the bad guy that we might have to team up with Dr. Robotnik, with Eggman, and save her. We don't know, but we know that he was desperate enough to spend this entire time using that symbol in the sky to figure out how to bring Sage back. All these are questions that I've been thinking about for probably the last 2 days. Right now I'm looking at like this 2-page Word document. I was writing down everything. I also have a lot of references, which is going to be again in the next video where I'm going to be talking about everything they referenced in Sonic Frontiers. But now that we know that there's all these possibilities, extraterrestrial things, what we could do with the future, new enemies, the canon of the Sonic timeline, let me know what you guys think. Honestly, I think Sonic Frontiers was a great game for expanding Sonic. Yes, Sonic has his cinematic universe, he has his games, he has his comics, but it feels like everything is coming together in Sonic, and that's not a bad thing. Look, I have gotten every single thing in the game. I got my platinum, got my 100%, read every single logbook, rewatched a lot of the cutscenes, but I actually don't know everything in the game. If you have been able to experience a lot of Sonic's idle chat to himself, if you stand around, Sonic will mention a few things. He'll talk about Knuckles, he'll talk about how something looks similar to the Mystic Ruins, a lot of SA1 references in this game, but there are also talks about games and characters that are not considered canon or just considered comic only characters. So if you've heard any of these lines, let me know. If you know a way to access any of these idle animation lines, I'd love to hear it. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace, homies.